Hey guys, welcome back. If you remember, we said this quarter we were really going to focus on argument, and we're going to talk about making our own arguments so that we can get people to do the things we want them to do and to buy into the ideas that we have. But we started by looking at commercials because really advertising is persuasion. And when you think about the purpose of commercials, they're to make money for sure. They want you to buy their products, but they want to do something called be top of mind. And top of mind means advertisers want to be the first product you think of when you have a need. For instance, you might think you're hungry and McDonald's wants to be the first thing that comes to mind. Or you might think that you need a new outfit for something for school and Hollister wants to be the first business that comes to mind. So we call that top of mind. And the way advertisers do that is they kind of use humor. You see in some of those commercials, they're a little bit silly, and they might not really even give good reasons for why their product's the best. They just kind of use humor to get your attention. They use branding, meaning they want to keep flashing the McDonald's logo, or they keep flashing the name of their product and what it looks like and the packaging of it, so that that's the first thing when you think of something you need, you almost see that product there. So you kind of can see the way advertisers use like repetition of their brand and kind of humor in order to sell their products. We saw that, but they also use those appeals that we talked about, and I want to review those with you. When you think about those 3 rhetorical appeals, we talked a little bit about ethos, and I represented ethos as with a person, because I said when we talk ethos, it's the speaker or the business or the company that's putting this out there. It's their reputation, their credibility, the trustworthiness that they have that helps convince you to use their product or to listen to their idea. And in advertising, we see this with Nike. Nike did the Air Max commercial, the history of Air Max. So when a person establishes a strong ethos, they kind of tell you the experience they have with that topic or that idea. We saw Macy's use Justin Bieber. And Justin Bieber is a famous person, so they kind of got somebody else to endorse their product. If you were making an argument, who would back you and endorse your idea? Sensodyne, the toothpaste one, used a dentist or an expert to help them do that. If you were making an argument, you'd have to show how you're an expert on it or well-versed in it. Or you could even use experts to help endorse your product or your idea. And Coke, that America is beautiful, they had a lot of different people who used their product. So when they were able to connect with their audience in a lot of ways, as people. So the fact that they were reaching to all of these different groups kind of built their ethos or showed their credibility because of this. In terms of pathos, we saw that Duracell commercial with the guy in the military, the father in the military who had that teddy bear for his daughter. There's an emotional connection there, and that's what pathos does. I represented it with the heart because it emotionally ties you to a product. But who doesn't want to see a dad communicate with their daughter or their child when they're, away fighting for our country? So Duracell used kind of that emotional understanding about people, that people will react to that for their commercial. Subaru, the car commercial, used the idea of fear. Nobody wants to think about getting in a car accident. Subaru played on that emotion of fear, that we don't like to feel. So they basically made the argument that you're not always going to get a second chance, but Subaru would give you that second chance. So they used fear. Duracell used love to do that. Microsoft was the one with the kids that had disabilities, physical disabilities, and they showed us the way they created things so that they could play video games. And really, Microsoft kind of helping the underdog is a way of appealing to pathos, because people connect with that emotionally. We kind of all root for the underdog, and they use that appeal of pathos to get our attention. Coke in that one up here, Coke used the many different faces of Coke. In this commercial, they used the feeling of summertime. Who doesn't want to feel adventure and the memory making that comes with summertime, and just the hanging out and the relaxing. So Coke used the idea, like the good feelings that we associate with one thing, which is summertime, to really sell their product. If you drink Coke, you're gonna feel these things. So these are appeals of pathos, when you get the audience feeling emotionally connected to your idea or your product. And the last one was logos, and I said it was kind of the boring one. It's the good reasons and the evidence and statistics. And we saw this in kind of the ads that I put out there for you. That bleach ad, as a mom, I watched that, but not very domestic. I watched that bleach ad with all the different reasons you should use or could use bleach. And I thought, man, I hadn't thought of that. But they just presented all of the reasons. Here's another reason you didn't think of. Here's another way you could use it. For the Ford Ranger commercial, they did something tied to the informative aim. They did a compare contrast between the Ford Ranger and this Toyota truck, I think. But they also laid out for us all the features, all the reasons that a Ford Ranger is a good truck. The power that it has, how many pounds it can carry in the bed of it. And I'm not good with cars, but there were all these different reasons or features for their product. Pure Protein did a similar thing. They sold us on, here's a reason to eat a Pure Protein bar. There's less sugar and more protein in it than other snacks that you could have. So they really used that one reason and hit it in lots of different ways to kind of sell their product. And then when you think about the Wendy's one that was all about how they use real meat instead of frozen meat, and they compared with McDonald's. So they basically laid out for you, here are the good reasons that you should. And I forgot one on here. I forgot the Verizon commercial. The Verizon commercial used the map of their service areas. And if you remember that map, it was covered in red because they have so many places of service in our country. And they use that kind of those statistics to sell us on those things. So when we think about argument, going back to the tie-in to commercials, we have to think about, okay, why do we trust this brand? Or why do we trust the author or the speaker who's presenting their argument? We think about pathos. How do we connect emotionally with this idea? You know, you have to know your audience in order to do that. What does the audience want to feel, or what do they care about? And then finally with logos, it's the good reasons. Here's a reason why you should buy into what I'm telling you. Here's another reason. Here's some statistics and facts to kind of support those good reasons. So when we talk about the appeals, we're really talking argument, but we could look at commercials to do that. And that's what we did last week. I laid out for you on my updates and on that assignment sheet that I put out there, all the stuff you needed to do this week. So today, what you need to do is to kind of review using Quizlet or quizzes and send me a little picture of how you did on that quiz for the rhetorical appeals. See ya.